welcome to Mac Academy. My name is Randy Smith, and over the next couple of hours we'll be discussing Microsoft Word. We'll be going over the basics of that program. I'd like to welcome each of you to this tape and also to the Mac Academy organization. I'd like to spend, before we dig right into the program, I'd like to spend a few minutes and talk about some of the differences between word processing on the Macintosh computer, word processing perhaps that you're used to on IBMs and IBM compatibles, or some of the earlier programs for the Macintosh. You know, today a lot of people talk about word processing, and they also talk a lot about desktop publishing. One of the first things that you need to realize is that there is a major difference between word processing and desktop publishing. I know you'll go down to your local Apple dealer or one of your software stores, and they'll try and convince you that all you need to buy is one program. For example, if you buy PageMaker, you don't need to buy a word processing program. Or if you buy the all-new Word 4.0, then you won't need to go buy a desktop publishing program because it does everything. A lot of people don't understand the difference between the two types of programs. So I'd like to talk about that just for a moment. I'd also like to talk about word processing and how to get the most out of it, and then we'll dig right into the program. First of all, when it comes to word processing and desktop publishing, a good way, I guess, to understand the difference is an experience that I had. I worked at a newspaper for 5 years. I used to come in and I'd sit down at one of those old-fashioned Royal manual typewriters. Whether I was doing a story or an article or an advertisement, I'd sit down at that typewriter and I'd type away. And when I finished, I'd take that hard copy back to the production department. In those days, someone would sit down at a photo typesetting machine and they would type out everything that I had laid out on a nice piece of paper. Now, the word processing part, that was the part of sitting there getting the words on the paper, kind of the creative part, the part where the creative juices are flowing. And then the production department, they would take that document and they would lay it out, and they would set out columns, and they'd put lines between the columns, and they would do headlines. They would take graphics or photos with subheads or sidebars, and they would make your article or your ad look the way that you wanted it to look. That's kind of the difference between word processing and desktop publishing. I was doing the word processing part, they were doing the desktop publishing part. Now today we have some wonderful electronic desktop publishing programs that take all the hard parts and all the laborious steps that it used to take us to get our document to look just like we wanted it to look, and they've taken all the work out of that. There are many good ones out there. PageMaker is one that we use, Ready, Set, Go, Quark Express, all of those are excellent. And the recommendation I'd like to make to you is if you are professional